And he said, type 2 diabetes, totally reversible.
Wait, what?
That's what I said when I heard it. Like, what? If you can reverse type 2 diabetes, I would have learned it in school. And so I went back and forth with this guy for about a year.
You were probably like, I'm going to show you.
Yeah, yep, pretty much. But also he kept just saying little things that just would resonate with my spirit, man. I was using this word alternative medicine, and he got real upset about that. And he was like, alternative? What do you even mean alternative? I'm like, well, you know, this, you're doing kind of holistic stuff, like quack stuff.
All the keywords.
Yeah. And he was like, okay, big shot, front page of Washington Post. You're so busy, only doctor in the county. What if you need to build an addition to that brand new clinic because you're outgrowing it? Who are you going to call to design that addition, the engineer or the alternative engineer? Next time your car's making a weird noise, you're going to take it to the mechanic or the alternative mechanic. Next time you get on an airplane to go to a medical conference, you're going to go with the aviation guys or the alternative aviation. And he's like, Ben, every single mechanic has to follow the same laws of internal combustion, the same laws of aerodynamics. God built this thing, the physical realm and the spiritual realm, but he built this thing with laws that we all have to operate by. And if you were a good doctor, you would figure out the laws of the human body and physiology.
We are here with Dr. Ben Edwards again. And I say again because it's been a year ago, which is fun. I was kind of telling you off the record a little bit, Ben, but for those who want to go back and listen to episodes 63 and 64, we did 2 of them. That'll give you a little bit of your background so we can just kind of like shotgun approach it today. But I was telling Ben off the record, I guess I'll say on it, it's been a year that I've really been following some of the, our whole family, some of the bigger ideas on health and your pillars. And it has been a year really since I've had any medicine. I used to get headaches just like all the time. I used to be on Advil constantly, and I haven't taken it in basically a year. And you know, the blood pressure is way better. I haven't done any preventative allergy medicine. I was on allergy medicine, antibiotics and steroids for like 9 months, enough to where I went and saw like the ENT guy, look at, you know, all that type of thing. And I haven't taken any preventative stuff. And I was even telling my family member today who came and heard you speak, like, and the thing is, I think I've been eating better and more delicious food since I started. So
yeah, it's awesome.
So thank you.
No, thank you for that's a great testimony to the truth.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping to hear. So I'm going to be checking my phone some days. We didn't really prepare for this one and on purpose, so I'm going to just kind of pick some bigger topics, but whatever the Lord lays on your heart to, you know, let's go there. But I think it probably would be helpful to introduce you for people who may not know you. You founded Veritas Medical. I mean, you're a medical doctor, and also Veritas, your educational platform. There's all kinds of great resources and all that. So would you tell us just a little bit about those 2 kind of entities and the wings and the functions and how people can connect with them? And then also about your podcast and all the things that you do on You're the Cure. So set us up on that so people can like immediately engage, and then we'll get into some of these questions and stuff in your background. So
you bet. Well, first, good job diving in, getting the truth and getting well.
Thank you.
That's really the goal, is to, I mean, the name of the podcast is You're the Cure. And I named that 12 years ago when a radio station in Lubbock asked me to come do a weekly call-in radio show. And I said, sure. And they said, well, you got to name it something. And so You're the Cure, because your body knows what to do to fix itself. Now, I didn't learn that in medical school, but it is a truth. Your body can fix itself. It knows how to keep blood pressure, blood sugar, everything normal. Acid out of your esophagus and in your stomach where it's supposed to be. And not be inflamed all the time, not be sick all the time, not be reacting to all the allergens and pollen and all that. So anyways, yeah, I'm a medical doctor, graduated UT Houston in 2002, Waco Family Practice, then went to Garza County out in Post, Texas, south of Lubbock, and did just regular family practice. I was the only doctor in the county. Did that for 7 years, and then met a doctor. After 7 years of just conventional medicine, I met this doctor who changed my thinking.
I know. I want you to set up camp on him in a minute, because tell the part about there is no disease too as you integrate it in.
Yeah.
You said it today, and I was like, wait, what?
That's what I said when I heard. So, I mean, I'm just doing my thing, minding my own business, being successful. I'll put that in quotes because successful meant financially successful, which I get that. Your clinic's got to make money or the clinic doesn't stay open. And it was a county clinic, and county clinics, you know, especially a rural county clinic, Medicaid and Medicare is your primary payer. They don't pay real good, so it can struggle to stay open. The taxpayers typically will kind of help that venture to stay open, and they've been taxpayers subsidizing that clinic $5,000 to $10,000 a month. And we turned that around because of volume. Doctors do 7-minute visits, and if you do procedures, which I did, that pays more. So between procedures and volume, you can make it work, and we did.
Like a machine, y'all had it running.
Oh, we were cranking that. Yeah. I mean, we were in the 95th percentile of all clinics in America on the financials, on the number of visits, revenue, overhead, just all that. So, you know, that's considered successful. And so some people recognize that, and we got some media attention. Texas Monthly, Washington Post newspaper put us on the front page. So now we're famous and we're financially good. The new clinic, they built a brand new clinic in Garza County. $1 million was in their bank account because the tax money's coming in. We don't need that money. We're self-sufficient, so the money just grows in the bank account. But so all that was going on, and I was just living my dream, raising the kids in a small town, Friday night football, team doctor, the nursing home doctor, the house calls, all the stuff. I meet this doctor through my nurse practitioner at the time, had an autoimmune disease, and that doctor helped my nurse prac overcome it. And when the nurse prac told me that, I told him he was crazy. You don't overcome, you don't cure, you don't fix, you don't go into remission long-term from autoimmune. That's a lifelong disease. But anyways, the nurse prac convinced me, no, that he was healed and good. And so I called this doctor who had taught this nurse prac of mine what to do. And this doctor said, there's no such thing as diseases. They're all consequences. If you weren't born with it, you probably don't need to keep it. If you were a good doctor, you would be a detective and you would dig and you would figure out the root cause. I mean, he was just hammering me.
Oh my gosh, that was pretty harsh.
I'm like,
what
kind of quack are you? Nobody. Who do you think you are? And he said, type 2 diabetes, totally reversible. Like, what? No way. And this is in 2011, 2012-ish. I'm like, there's no way what you just said is true. No way. Because if that were true, then UT Houston, endocrinologist, the specialist of diabetes, would have taught me that. If you can reverse type 2 diabetes, I would have learned it in school. And the really cool and honest and hardworking, loving Christian men and women at Waco Family Practice Residency would have taught me that. I just couldn't believe it. And so I went back and forth with this guy for about a year on the telephone. We just kept kind of...
Well, and it had to be you. I mean, that's really funny in the context of the Lord, because you knew how you were made like that. Some people, that would have made them just like, you're crazy and run. But for you and how you're wired, you were probably like, I'm going to show you that you're crazy.
Yep, pretty much. But also he kept just saying little things that just would resonate with my spirit, man. Man, that's true.
Oh, peace doesn't upset.
But then my intellectual man kicks in, and that one's real loud, especially for a doctor. So he would say stuff like, because I was using this word alternative medicine, and he got real upset about that. And he was like, alternative? What do you even mean alternative? I'm like, well, this, you're doing kind of holistic stuff and like quack stuff.
All the key words.
Yeah. And he was like, okay, big shot. Front page of Washington Post. You're so busy, only doctor in the county. What if you need to build an addition to that brand new clinic because you're outgrowing it? Who are you going to call to design that addition? The engineer or the alternative engineer to draw up those plans? Next time your car's making a weird noise, you're going to take it to the mechanic or the alternative mechanic. Next time you get on an airplane to go to a medical conference, you're going to go with the aviation guys or the alternative aviation. stuff like that. He's like, Ben, every single mechanic has to follow the same laws of internal combustion, the same laws of aerodynamics. God built this thing, the physical realm and the spiritual realm, but he built this thing with laws that we all have to operate by. And if you were a good doctor, you would figure out the laws of the human body and physiology, such as it's normal human physiology to have a pH of 1 to 2 in your stomach after you eat your breakfast, lunch, and supper. Your stomach acid pumps are supposed to kick in and make so much acid, hydrochloric acid, into your stomach to digest that food. Your pH should be a 1. Battery acid's 1.5. So when you tell your patient with acid reflux it's from too much stomach acid, you're lying.
Oh, wow.
It's humanly impossible to make too much stomach acid. It's humanly impossible to be more pH acidic than a 1. And that's normal physiology. And he told me, go look up in your Guyton physiology book from school. And I did. And he was right. pH of 1 is normal gastric pH. And kind of side note there, that's what triggers this valve to squeeze shut between your food pipe and your stomach. There's a valve. It's a pressure valve. But the trigger for it to squeeze tight, pH of 1. When that pH in the stomach rises to a 3, 4, or 5, still acidic, anything below 7 is acidic, but not acidic enough to trigger a good squeeze, and that valve flops open, acid reflux comes. It's one of the first books he sent me, Dr. Jonathan Wright, about why stomach acid is good for you. It was for the lay person, but I read that book and I was shocked because it's all in the physiology, the studies, it's all there. Like, man, this is upside down and backwards. It's too little stomach acid that's causing acid reflux. So it would be stuff, just little things. Man, that's true, and then you just keep digging and going and digging and going. But your intellectual side kicks in. There's no way. So I wrestled for a year until he finally said, I'm tired of talking to you and arguing with you. Just send me your 10 sickest patients.
Would you research a little bit, calling back with more questions?
Yeah.
Research a little bit, calling back with more questions.
Yeah. And a big one was type 2 diabetes, and that's what we talked about today in the lecture. Because half of Garza County was diabetic, the other half was going to be if you gave them enough time. And he told me, type 2 diabetes, totally reversible. And I'm like, what? No way. And he told me, look up this on YouTube and watch this guy. But what got me was because diabetes, if you have that, you increase your chances of heart attack, stroke, cancer, and Alzheimer's. So if you can get that one thing reversed, then you just really drop the chances of all those things. So I was real curious about that. But still, how can this be? So anyways, after back and forth, he's like, just send me your 10 sickest patients, and I'll just show you. And you won't be able to deny that. And so...
You're like, oh, I got the 10 for you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm picking these.
And he was reading my mail.
Yeah.
Because he knows... He'd seen enough of these patients. These patients that have been everywhere, tried everything, been to all the big medical centers, been to UT Southwestern, Mayo, Hopkins, wherever. And so I did. I had plenty of those. He said, those patients that when you see their name on the schedule or they walk in that front door, you cringe a little on the inside because you have nothing for them. You've sent them everywhere. You've referred. You've tried all the meds, and they're still in your office crying for help, and you have nothing. Send me those. And so I did, and they all came back well, and I'm talking well, off their meds, no more symptoms, just like what you said. It's been a year, no ibuprofen, no headaches, no sinus, just like that. And the one guy that really got me, 74-year-old coach, retired coach, 330 pounds, diabetic, on 3 meds for diabetes. I prescribed them over these 7 years. He's my patient for 7 years. Acid reflux med, blood pressure med, 3 diabetes, all these 9 medicines altogether. And his sugar's still high. The meds, just aren't cutting it. You got to do insulin, shots. No, coach said, no, doc, I'm not doing it. I'll die before I give myself shots. My coach, don't be stubborn. Yeah. Come on, it's not that hard. Yeah. My nurse will do it for you the first time. She'll teach you. It'll be fine. No big deal. No, I'm not doing it. I'd rather die. Coach, come on. And I try to scare him into it. Look, you're going to get sores on your feet. We'll chop off your toes. You're going to go blind. Your dialysis, all the things that diabetics. I said, well, there's this doctor I'm talking to that he doesn't believe in diabetes. He doesn't believe there's such thing as the disease called diabetes. And that guy's like, sign me up.
Your first one.
And that guy came back a few months down the road. He was off all his meds except for half of one blood pressure pill, and his sugar was normal, non-diabetic anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Off his meds, normal sugar. So after those 10 patients, I was all in because those were my patients. I knew them. They weren't lying. I'd prescribed all those meds. I'd referred them to all those doctors. I knew they were sick. I knew how bad sick they were. And I went to med school to help people, and I never saw anybody get help like this. So I called that guy. I'm like, you got to teach me this.
Wow.
I don't care, quackery, whatever. These people are better, way better, like all the way better. So that's kind of how it started. Of course, to do this kind of thing, this kind of visit, you need 1 to 2 hours. So Veritas Medical was birthed because they fired me from.
Yeah, and you guys can go back and hear like the first episode too, just about the fire. But no, keep talking on the. I mean, they let the hospital system just said.
Well, you can't do that kind of visit. You can't take an hour with the patient. Obviously, that's only 8 a day instead of 45 a day. Your reimbursements, you just can't, financially, you can't do it. So in Garza County, it's a system problem.
Yeah.
Doctors just can't. You cannot do that. You have to do 7-minute visits to make the money. And in a 7-minute visit, all you can do is treat a symptom. And a diabetes pill is treating a symptom because sugar is just a symptom. High sugar in your blood is a symptom of a carburetor that's jacked up. It's inefficient. It can't burn that sugar anymore. And so you got to fix the carburetor. And then all of a sudden, boom, it burns your sugar for fuel and your blood sugar level drops down to normal. So these are all consequences or symptoms. Headaches are symptoms. Heart blockage in your arteries, that's a symptom. A tumor is a symptom. These are all symptoms or consequences really of the mitochondria, the carburetors in the cells that aren't working right. But you need 1 hour to 2 hours to go through this, to teach this, to write up a plan. And so it just wasn't going to work. Got fired. My wife and I were laying in bed one night because I was going to have to start my own private practice now. And we thought we got to name our clinic. And this is just the truth. What we're learning is the truth. And so we looked up Latin for truth and Greek for truth, and Veritas is Latin. So I looked up veritasmedical.com. It was available. I got it.
Grab it.
Boom.
Yeah.
So Veritas Medical started. That was in 2012. And we moved to Lubbock, and we grew and grew and grew. And I hired nurse practicing PAs to help me. And at the height, we had 9 or 10 nurse practitioners at 4 locations, Lubbock, Abilene, San Angelo, and Odessa. But through those 10 years of Veritas Medical, it became clear. I mean, tons of people got better. We never advertised. It was just word of mouth, over 20,000 patients. And like your story, when someone gets well and off their meds, they go tell their friends. The friends tell people, and then they come, and it just grew. But one kind of thing that we saw in there was, well, first, the Lord showed me early on in the first month or two, 4 pillars: nutrition, hydration, movement, and peace. Teach those things. That's what the body needs to operate normally. So I was teaching nutrition, hydration, movement, peace from day one. But early on, I'm a doctor. Now this whole integrative or functional medicine realm, there's tons of supplements. There's IVs, there's stem cells, platelet-rich plasma, PRP, ozone, UV light in the vein, all kinds of cool gadgets, I call them, that help with symptoms and inflammation. So, we would do all this stuff. And Veritas Medical, it was great. And it still exists today. But the lesson we learned over 10 years, if people don't, really it's the peace pillar. Yeah. If they're in chronic stress mode.
That's like the second thing on my list. I want to just hit on that as you keep telling the story. Because that shocked me the first time I met you and interacted with some of your content materials. I'm like, oh man, like stress is a way bigger deal than I would have ever imagined. I wouldn't even thought it would have made the list as like impacting my health. Yeah,
it's the number one. Wow. Yeah, well, I should probably say that doctor who trained me, his name was Dr. Fit, was his nickname online on social media, FITT. drfit.com was his website. And he was just really fit, really fit. I mean, his biceps were triple what mine are. He was ripped, and he ate perfect. I never saw him eat anything that wasn't perfect. And I'm not about to be perfect, but he was perfect. I never saw him drink anything that wasn't perfect. Like, he wouldn't just drink green tea. He'd drink green, he would doctor it up. He would put cardamom and nutmeg and cinnamon and all the spices, and he would tell me why. Well, this one does this, and this one does it, and this study shows that this one, he's super smart, PhD, MD. So a perfect eat, perfect drink. He would work out like a guru. He'd put a 100-pound backpack, and he was an ex-Marine. He'd get his fatigues, his boots, and he'd go jogging with 100 pounds on his back, one-arm push-ups, one-arm pull-ups.
Oh, come on.
Well, this guy, he was extreme fit. So the 3 pillars, nutrition, hydration, movement, A+. I mean, all-star, rock star. But not the peace pillar. And he got prostate cancer. And he doubled down on his knowledge and his protocols, and he beat it. And I saw it. I saw the biopsies pre and post. I saw the CAT scan, PET scans pre and post. All of it. It was there, then it was gone. He went into remission, not with chemo, not with any pharmaceutical, not with radiation. It was amazing. It blew my mind. And a couple years later, it came back. He doubled down on it again, knocked it down again, and then it came back a third time. And this time it came back pretty aggressive and kind of spread all over real fast. And he called me, and but long story short, he did not survive that. And at the very end, I mean, he had shriveled up to, he went from this ripped, fit, just amazing specimen of physical health, and was riddled with cancer, bedbound, on morphine, on hospice, in his house, in his bed. I'd make house calls on him, down to like 100 pounds. And he told me, or asked me, he said, Ben, there's this conference, I've been organizing it, a medical conference in Amarillo for the past year. I've had this in the works. And these other doctors are coming into town to give presentations. I don't want to cancel. But I'm the keynote speaker, and I can't go. I can't get out of bed. And would you go in my place and speak instead of me? I said, oh, of course I will. And he said, but here's what I want you to speak on. The spiritual roots of disease and how unresolved emotional conflict, you need to teach the people that. Wow. And we'd seen that. So this was in 2020. And we had seen this, so 10 years of Veritas, man, this chronic stress thing. Like, people can eat perfect exercise, and they get better. They get all the way better. Meds are gone, but then in a few years they're back sometimes. Hey, I'm still eating perfect. I'm still working out just right. I'm taking all my supplements. But their stress is through the roof. Anyways, what a couple years ago, I felt like the Lord said, for 10 years, Veritas Medical has been reactive and last resort. Patients would come see us as a last resort. They've tried everything. They're so sick. They've been everywhere. Basically, let's do a Hail Mary and go do this holistic thing. Try this alternative guy. And the Lord said, you need to get upstream and get proactive, first option. These people are suffering for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, suffering. Then they come at the very end and try to do a Hail Mary with you. That's not right. You need to get up there.
And that's the peace pillar.
Well, that was flipping it to Veritas Wellness.
Okay.
Education, be more aggressive and get out there. And really through the corporate, individuals definitely can join and do that. But what he really laid on me was the boss will pay for it. Get to these companies, get to the HR, the CEOs. They're paying out the wazoo for quote unquote health insurance that's not delivering. We get the worst health outcomes of any country in the world industrialized. We die the youngest than anybody else. Our infant mortality rate is the worst. Maternal mortality rate's the worst. Our kids are the sickest of any country. We spend way more money. The other next 10 countries combined, we spend more money than them. We go to the doctor the most, take the most drugs, and we get the dead last worst outcomes. We're the last place team spending the most money with the best budget, the best athletic department, facilities, the number one recruiting class to come in dead last place. Makes no sense. But anyways, the companies are feeling the squeeze because they're paying the high insurance cost. So if you get to the boss, teach them that, hey, this is all reversible. So corporate wellness / individual wellness, Veritas Wellness was born to educate more upstream before they're so sick that they have to come see Veritas Medical. So our Veritas Medical still exists, but to get there, you got to go through wellness first. You got to pass through. Basically, it's a triage system. So get with our health coaches, run a blood panel, see where you're at, how inflamed are you. Let's talk about your diet and lifestyle. Let's make some tweaks to get the inflammation to come down. And when inflammation comes down, symptoms can go away. Because all these symptoms we call diseases, they're just warning lights on the dashboard that, man, your engine's hot. You better tune up this carburetor. This thing's about to fall out on you.
That was the first thing on my list, inflammation. So yeah.
Inflammation comes from, just like a carburetor in your vehicle. Fuel, air, spark plug, boom, combustion happens. So you make energy to turn those wheels. You make exhaust going out the tailpipe, and you make heat going out the radiator. That's the same thing in the human body. The mitochondria is the name. That's a fancy name. It's just a carburetor in your cell to give your cell the energy it needs to do its job. My jaw muscles got to have energy to talk. My brain neurons need to fire. They have to have energy to fire. My white blood cells to gobble up measles, COVID, or flu need to have energy. Everything's got to have energy. Well, so your mitochondria's got to take the fuel from what you eat, and that can be sugar or fat. So carbs or fat can be burned for fuel. Air from what you breathe. Spark plug is minerals. Our food is demineralized because our soil is demineralized. But if you have good inputs, those three good inputs, you'll make energy and very little exhaust. Exhaust is free radicals or oxidative stress. That's where inflammation comes from. When a carburetor can't make enough energy and it's making way too much exhaust, that is inflammation.
Okay.
So if the heart muscle cell or the brain, whatever organ is the mitochondria is not working right, you'll get a symptom. And we call it a disease. In medical school just taught me to treat the symptom. Like a headache is a symptom, so here's a pain pill for that. Or if it's a migraine, medical school is really just teaching you a matching game.
You said managing earlier today, you were like managing the problems. What you're doing instead of solving it.
You're not fixing it, you're managing it. So the example I gave today was my wife had a slow leak in her tire on her vehicle, and it was real slow though, so it didn't lose air right away. Just over 4 to 5 days it'd get flat. I could air it up. And then it'd take 4 or 5 days to get flat again, air it up again, 4 or 5 days, air it up, and just that's managing the problem. That's okay. Still works. She could still drive, she could get her stuff done, but there's unintended long-term negative consequences. She could have a blowout in a rollover. The shocks and struts could get messed up. The alignment could get off. The life of that tire is decreased. The life expectancy, lifespan. That's what we see in America.
You can just keep airing the tire up all day long if you want, or you can
It's cheap, it's easy, your copay pays for it, and it's not fixing the problem at all. So your mitochondria is still jacked up. And medical school just does not teach how to fix. It teaches us to match. Like if you walk into your doctor with a complaint, a symptom of a headache, well, he's going to ask you a few questions because his job is to match your symptom to a label, and then the game's over. It's a matching game and game over. Once you make the match, game over. There's a pharmaceutical that goes to every match. So headaches that you had, the question would be, well, is it like an ice pick on only one side, like behind your eye, and bright lights make it worse, and getting a dark room makes it better, noise makes it worse, you get a little nausea, maybe vomit with it? Well, that's a migraine headache. Or is it, no, not that at all. It's more like a tension, like a squeezing rubber band around my whole forehead and squeeze, and ibuprofen help. Well, that's more of a tension. Or is it like a pressure under my eyes, like when I bend over it's worse, I have a lot of snot, allergy, kind of those sinus headache. There's only a certain number of things that are a headache, cause a headache. But that's it. Once you get that and you raise your hand and say it's that one, like a migraine, okay, well, Imitrex.
Okay.
And Imitrex can work. If you have migraines and you take Imitrex and that knocks it out, you love your Imitrex.
Yeah.
But then you have another migraine, you take another Imitrex, and maybe at some time Imitrex doesn't work, and then you got to try another one, then another one. But what's causing the migraine and what's causing the tension headache or the sinus? And it's the same with diabetes. It's the same with all the autoimmune diseases. There's 100 autoimmune diseases now. It's the same with cancer, heart attack, strokes. There's a root cause. But where you'll drill it all down, and that's what that doctor told me way back when he said there's no such thing as diseases, I said, oh yeah? And I read off my schedule from the day. I saw 40 patients that day, so I had 40 different diseases. And I just rattled them off. Diabetes, ADD, ADHD, depression, fibromyalgia, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, hypertension, asthma, all of it. And he said, no, there are consequences. Go Google every single one of those labels with the word inflammation, and you'll see a connection. And it's clear in the literature. Depression, inflammation, Alzheimer's inflammation, cancer inflammation, heart attack inflammation. So where's it coming from? The mitochondria. Why is the mitochondria jacked up? Because it's not getting the inputs. Where stress and peace come in, imagine buying a $200,000 Ferrari or whatever they cost, and you put in the most expensive, organic, high-octane gasoline, the most expensive synthetic motor oil you can find, the most expensive, best fibers of an air filter thing. Get all the best, but spend the most money. Do the top of the line on all your inputs. But then go out on the highway, put the pedal to the metal, and never get out of first gear. You're going to redline that thing. And that Cadillac or Ferrari, it's not designed to be redlined. RPMs revving like that all the way down that highway very long, no matter what your good inputs were. That's the problem. And that was Roby's, Dr. Fitt, that was his problem. You'll hit a ceiling if you try to steward this body only with physical inputs, because we're not just a physical body. Where there's a spiritual, there's a quantum, there's a supernatural, invisible, and that's medicine's problem. Part of our medicine's problem is they're stuck in materialism. Yeah. The other part is they're stuck in being right and arrogance. Doctors aren't good at saying I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Even though the literature's clear, Dr. John Ioannidis at Stanford published way back in 2006, the vast majority of published medical research is false, wrong. Wow. Another study showed of 368 standard of care practices that they reviewed, 40% of them shouldn't be being done. They're wrong.
I know you were going over something this morning. I was like, wow. Even just the gross misrepresentation of the stats. And
absolute risk reduction versus relative risk reduction. That takes a whiteboard to explain that. But basically, like the ad I showed in the lecture, a 36% reduction in heart attack. That was a Lipitor ad. Yeah. But there's an asterisk on that 36%. And you look down at the asterisk, it says, in a study, this means 3% of the people in the study that were on the placebo sugar pill got a heart attack. 2% of the people that were on Lipitor got a heart attack.
1% actual.
3 minus 2 is 1. So actual risk reduction, absolute risk reduction is 1%. That's what the statins give you for primary reduction. If your cholesterol's high and you get on a statin to prevent a heart attack, it prevents it in 1% of the cases. It's a 1% risk reduction only. That's pitiful. Yeah. That's your number one killer of Americans, and the best we have to offer is 1%, 0.8% actually is what it is. The average of all the statin studies, the Jupiter, the Ascot, you line up the top 15 statin cholesterol drug studies, your average is 0.8% risk reduction. So as long as we continue to only use the one tool in our toolbox, a pharmaceutical prescription pad, or there's two tools, a scalpel, cut it out, but a very narrow training, pharmaceutical only, and this started in 1910 when we changed the medical curriculum, you're going to continue to get poor outcomes, because none of those pills, none of these diseases, quote unquote, are from a lack of a pharmaceutical. Heartburn's not from a deficiency of Nexium. Hypertension's not from a deficiency of lisinopril. Headaches are not a deficiency of Advil. So until we can get past our symptom treatment and get to root cause, we're going to continue to be dead last place, suffer, die earlier, and spend a ton of money to do it.
Well, let me ask you some, I know with that as the backdrop, a couple things. Can I ask you about a few specific consequences, I guess I say, and say, like, how have you seen, what are some things people have done that y'all have helped guide them through in the wellness that really has helped them have really great outcomes? And you mentioned, cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes. Like, Dr. Fitt had said, like, these things are reversible, like diabetes, and like what are some just things, because I know if somebody's listening and they have that, they're going to be like, what can I do to start? And I would tell you, first, go jump in Veritas Wellness and, kind of get the ball rolling there like what we've done. But what if just some things, just if I can ask you just some practical tips, like, that really you've seen help that they may not even know of because they've been deceived?
Yeah.
And then we're going to get to peace. I want to ask about same thing on peace. What have you seen work at peace?
Yep.
Like, that really helped the stress.
Yep. So in general, and this may be tricky because you may not know, but you got to get to thinking like and living like and eating like your great-grandparents.
Okay.
Your great-grandparents were outside in the sunshine a lot. And there's more to the skin cancer thing than just sun. If it were just the sun, because our grandparents were in the garden, they were down at the creek washing their clothes. They were
didn't
outside.
have any sunblock even either.
No
so that's a
sunblock
whole
and no skin cancer.
Yeah.
So it's really the vegetable oils or seed oils in the skin that really interact with the UV light. But sunshine's big. Eat real food. And people think, oh, I am eating real food. I'm not eating like plastic, cardboard or whatever.
Well, you kind of are.
Yeah.
In some cases.
If it's from the middle aisle, if it's from a restaurant, processed food is not good. But even beyond, you can even keep eating the food you're eating, just narrow your eating window. There's 16, 18 hours of grazing. Bring that down. Try to get that to 12 or 10 hours. Sunlight eating window is what I call it. Add sea salt. Sea salt has 70 plus minerals. Table salt. So what man does with God's food is we strip stuff out, add stuff in for one thing, shelf life, for profit. So that's fine. I mean, table salt, you got 3 minerals. Sea salt, you got 70 plus. Add sea salt to your water. Add sea salt to your food. We are demineralized, so adding minerals is a big thing. Cut out the seed oils. That would be cottonseed oil, soybean oil, corn oil,
So what does that look like as far as oils? So you're talking about the canola oils. You're talking about the vegetable oils. Anything that's not...
If it's from a small seed, canola is rapeseed.
Okay.
Small hard seed, so corn oil, soybean, rapeseed, which is canola, cottonseed, that's Crisco and margarine. But pretty much if it's at the grocery store, a cheap oil or processed restaurant oil. So the good oils, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, tallow, lard, butter, all the things your ancestors were using, they're actually healthy.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. I know there's people are amen in that, especially with the butter and the heavy cream like you were talking about. Okay. No, keep going. So
seed oils number one, get rid of or flip them to the right fats. We call it the big 3: seed oils, processed grain, processed sugar.
Okay.
Now process is the key. Grain's not bad and sugar's not bad. When it's too processed, it becomes potentially harmful for your carburetor.
Okay.
The human carburetor is not designed to burn high fructose corn syrup.
Okay.
It's really not designed to burn sifted grain. What I mean by that is in the 1920s we started sifting the grain. So a wheat berry, like I know y'all get, you grind that thing, that's beautiful. You make your bread, your pizza dough, your cookies, whatever. But the problem is the millers in the 1920s figured out if we can sift out the germ and the bran, we can get that wheat germ oil out, then we get shelf life.
Then it won't go rancid.
It won't go rancid. White flour can sit in a bag forever. Well, what's left in that white flour is only protein and starch, no vitamins, no minerals, no nutrition. And that caused a major epidemic of sickness. The government actually figured it out in the 1920s, told the millers, put that back in. They said no, because the feedlot is paying us for this germ and the bran they're feeding the cows, and we got shelf life. And they said, well, you got to do something because these people are getting sick and dying because there's no nutrition in this white flour, and they enriched it with 4 different things, 3 B vitamins and iron. And in 1998, put another B vitamin in. It's not the human carburetor, the mitochondria is not designed to burn that white flour, enriched white flour. It can do it, but the consequence is real dirty burn. Lots of free radicals, lots of inflammation, very little miles per gallon. Literally, it's like your carburetor. Your ATP production, which is energy, goes down. Your exhaust goes up, your free radicals goes up. So if you're feeding that thing vegetable oils, processed sugar, processed grain year after year after year, that carburetor is going to give up on you. And that's what we're seeing, chronic disease rates just skyrocketing. They're all related to the carburetor, the mitochondria, which is related to these big 3.
So then you got your grains. Now, is it that hard? I keep telling people, but you've connected me with Sue Becker, and we bought a mill. It's like this big. It takes like a second to put it in, but it's just kind of intimidating, I think, to a lot of people. Like, I can't do that. I can't make my own. And we have found it like extremely easy. And we eat the heck out of bread.
Yeah. It is so easy, crazy easy. Now, you need to find someone who's probably been there, done that, and they can show you real quick and easy.
And people on your team, your wellness coaches, have really helped us a ton. They got us on the right track on that.
Yep. So Sue Becker's great, her website, and she's got a little cookbook, and then our girls, our health coaches, wellness navigators can help. But like pizza crust. You just make pizza dough, so simple. Throw the tomato sauce, throw the toppings, put in that one piece of pizza with this fresh milled is so filling because it's so full of nutrition. But yeah, we make biscuits, we make pancakes, waffles, bread. We got a bread maker, so it makes it real easy. Throw that stuff in your bread maker, hit the button, I go to bed. In the morning, I wake up, there's a big loaf of bread.
And that has the nutrients you need, which will burn correctly and help.
So I call the big 3 to avoid, but then there's the super 5 is what I call them. The super 5, one of those is fresh milled breads. Okay. It's a superfood. Okay. It is so packed full of nutrition. It's amazing. And then there's fermented food, like cabbage gets fermented into sauerkraut. Okay. Fermented food have good bacteria. Then you've got bone broth. Homemade is best, but these bones have so much good stuff if you stew that bone and make a bone broth. And then the other one is organ meat. That's going to freak people out, like liver and heart and kidney, but that's where the actual nutrients are at. Our ancestors valued the organ meats, gave them to the women of childbearing age in particular because they knew they'd make good babies if they were nutrient dense, and the organs have those nutrient dense. Now they do
I prefer to take your pill on your...
Yeah, most people do. Yeah. So you can freeze dry that liver, grind it up and powder it into a capsule and take that. And then the 5th is raw dairy. That freaks people out. I like to call it real milk instead of raw milk. But it's what your ancestors were doing. There's a way to get milk very, very nutritious because when you ultra pasteurize, heat that thing up, homogenizes, breaking all the fat up. It's really just this mixture of toxic, sterile, but just proteins that have been denatured. Now everybody's reacting to this dairy because it's just a toxic soup.
It has nothing to do with the actual milk, Well, you hit 2, so grain, the big 5, but you have your seed oil, your grain, and then talk about sugar for a minute, because you've helped us on that too, because I'm like, how can we have muffins and stuff made out of fresh milk flour with no sugar? That was kind of my thought coming into it. So what can we eat sugar-wise?
And honestly, of those 3, the seed oils, processed grain, and sugar, you can move the needle real fast if you just quit sugar for 30 days, which sugar's in everything, so you're going to be eating basically meat and veggies, but you'll see a dramatic drop in inflammation. But over the long haul, your body actually, it can handle sugar. It needs sugar even. That mitochondria burns sugar just fine if you steward that mitochondria, but it needs to be God's version of sugars, not so processed. So honey is a great version of that, of a sweetener. Organic maple syrup can be another good version. And even if you have to use sugar, just try to get as least processed as possible. And there's different versions of that.
Yeah, I think we've heard you say brown, most sugar's not white, like the brown and the Terminado and honey crystals, I think Becker sells on her. Yep.
There's different ones that have, the key with all of it is they actually have some of the nutrition left in it. Fruit's another way to get some sweet. What you'll find though, if you've been standard American, they've added sugar, mostly high fructose corn syrup, but other forms of sugar that jack your blood sugar so fast. When you drink a can of soda, and even the enriched white flour jacks your sugar so fast. It's a surge of blood sugar. That means a surge of insulin has to come to drive that sugar down. So it does, and you fall, that blood sugar falls. Now you're feeling, oh man, where I need to eat something. So you're grabbing a Snickers and you're jacking back. And it's this roller coaster with processed sugar, and you get addicted to it. They specifically are trying to sell more food to you, so they have figured out how to get you addicted to that. You like those Oreos? Yeah, you're going to go eat a bunch and go eat a bunch more. And the Doritos, they put sugar in everything because sugar spikes your dopamine, your pleasure hormone, more than cocaine, more than heroin. It's a massive addiction agent. So breaking that addiction of the processed sugar in your sweet tooth, your taste buds, all that'll change.
Well, you won't even like it as much has been our testimony. Or you won't even desire it as much, I should say.
It cuts that desire. And then you can eat a muffin with honey and be fine, especially if it's fresh milled muffin and it's got butter, the good fat. It's satisfying. It's nutritious, and it's medicine for you. God put the medicine in the food. We just need to quit jacking with the food so much.
Wow. So those three, if you do those three and take no other action right now, really start looking at these three things, and they're not difficult. That was another fear of mine coming into like, dang, I can't do a bunch of dieting stuff and this and that and make it super rigid and hard and count calories and all that.
Yeah.
So if you do these, if you look at these three big things, and then you also look at the 5, I mean, that would even help with cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes.
Oh, yeah.
It just helps your body.
What all that's helping is the carburetor.
Okay.
Now, why does some people's dysfunctional carburetor equal to high blood pressure, while other people equals to high blood sugar or migraines or infertility or that? I mean, I have some thoughts on that, but nobody knows 100% sure why. But I'm telling you, it's all root. That's why we tell everyone, start with the wellness navigators and the wellness program, because they're the mitochondrial mechanics. They're the experts at tuning up your mitochondria. Yeah, you may have this, or this crazy disease you think's crazy. Guarantee, Google it with mitochondria or inflammation. You're going to see a connection. It's all mitochondria, so start with the mitochondria mechanic and go from there. But even if food's not that scares you, okay, well, just start with walking. Get outside and walk. Get 10,000 steps a day. Lift weights for 40 to 60 minutes a week.
That's another thing I've loved hearing you say, of like, you don't have to run a ton and all that. It's like, walk is my favorite thing to do. I love that. And you're like, the marathon guys actually, if you do that excessively, like that can actually maybe cause more damage on you.
Excessive exercise decreases longevity.
Yeah.
Dr. James O'Keefe, cardiologist at University of Kansas City, in 2023, April, he published a review study looking at who lives the longest, into their 90s and 100s. What were they doing? What activity, what exercise were they doing their whole life? And that's what he found. The sweet spot for longevity is 10,000 steps a day. Just get up and move. Walk, garden, golf, just move. And then 60 minutes a week of put a load on your muscle, resistance training. So you didn't hear me say cardio. You didn't hear me say get on the treadmill and run for an hour. Do aerobics for
body weight stuff count for resistance? I mean, body weight training?
You can do body weight resistance. Okay. You can do bands. You can do weights. Yeah.
Just some sort of resistance. Even anything's better than...
Putting a load on the muscles key, and that can be your body weight, yeah. But, so you can just start there. Just start walking, start putting a load on the muscle, do the food later.
Yeah.
Hydration. So many people are drinking liquid sugar.
Yeah.
So you could start there. Just flip it to water, tea, coffee only. And then walk every day, get the sunshine, drink your coffee at the sunrise outside. First morning sun
Sun's a big deal.
goes through the eyeball, through the optic nerve, to your brain, and it resets things in your brain from a metabolism standpoint, from a mitochondrial efficiency standpoint, circadian rhythm, immune system. Super beneficial.
Who doesn't like watching the sunrise anyways?
Exactly. So it can be some simple stuff that's not the diet even.
So all that really helps. Okay. So what type of peace things, because I know if pieces are one of the most important things, and maintaining peace, what are some stuff you guys have been encouraging people to do or to look at or just to know about? Like how can you, and I mean obviously a lot of it has to do with Lord and kind of spiritual things as well, but how have you seen some like really helping people in peace, which is kind of a surprising thing when you're talking to an MD and you're saying I'm at the last resort and I'm thinking you're going to tell me I do this, that, but it's like, how's your peace pillar? Mm-hmm. Like, that's kind of a shocking question to hear from you guys, and I love it.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing the Lord said 2 years ago on the get upstream. First option was also flip it, the pillars, peace, movement, hydration, nutrition, instead of nutrition, hydration, movement, peace. Because without true peace, I mean, that mitochondria, like I said, redlining. You can put in organic, perfect ingredients, but you redline it. It's not designed to be in fight or flight mode. You can be fight or flight or rest and digest. That's the 2 gears. First gear, second gear, sympathetic, parasympathetic. That's it. And so, there's stress management. People know probably just in general, stress is probably no good. Well, not only is it no good, it will absolutely kill you. Yeah. Even with perfect inputs. That's what happened to my mentor. So you can do stress management, which honestly, part of the 3 pillars is just building resiliency in the body. I mean, you have more physical resilience now. Allergens don't bother you, you know, your headaches and all that. You've built resilience that physically is manifesting. But probably, and what we see in a lot of patients is also they just feel like, hey, I can just handle stuff better now. I'm mentally, emotionally just more equipped. Like these speed bumps that were turned into huge mountains are back down to little speed bumps now. I just feel like I can handle stuff better. Well, that's actually the mitochondria in your neurons in your brain are firing off more efficiently, not creating inflammation in your brain. Depression, anxiety, panic, part of that is just your brain's on fire. Part of it is your microbiome. These bugs in your gut make your serotonin. Serotonin is the chemical that your Lexapro, Zoloft, Prozac, all those mood stabilizers, they're going after serotonin, trying to improve your serotonin level. Well, your gut bugs make serotonin. If you will feed your gut bugs, steward your gut bugs, nourish your gut bugs, feed them real food, all of a sudden your serotonin production goes up. The mood eases. Magnesium. There's a whole book on magnesium called The Mood Cure. Just magnesium will calm things. Wow. So you can get a lot done from a peace standpoint in the physical, in the nutrition, movement, sunshine, all that.
But how about the lens and belief and identity? We've got to talk about some of that.
So, you know, Roby, my mentor, Dr. Fitt, tried to deal with peace with various management tools, different meditations, different breathing techniques, different herbs and mushrooms and South American stuff, and you know, and not saying that something doesn't happen there, but that's management. That's not getting to the root and fixing it. So kind of how I see it is, it's not so much your circumstances, because there's no way you can control these circumstances. Things just come, especially these days in the world, and it's going to keep coming. It's how do you see those things?
The lens.
The lens that you're looking through, It's all about the lens. And our lenses get dirty. And they get dirty early in our life. Events happen. These events evoke emotions. That's fine. They're real events. We're not denying that happened. The emotions are real. We're emotional beings. God gave us emotions. But there's that moment and around that emotion where I'm having a thought about, I'm judging that, I'm interpreting this, I'm making a judgment statement about this thing. And wait a minute. Who's informing that opinion? Is it Holy Spirit truth? God's perspective on that thing? What's His Word say about it? What's the Holy Spirit telling you in your unique situation for you? How does He see it? What's the truth? Versus the accuser is going to come in there and he's going to accuse, and usually he'll accuse you. Well, if you would have, you should have, you aren't, you're... The liar.
He sounds like a liar, that voice, that thought.
Amen. The father of all lies. He lies to us. He lied to me when I was little. I can tell that story if you want to, but that's what we have found. If you can get down deep and identify the lies that you believe about God and self, that's the Jamie Winship. I'm 100%. That is it. It's what Eve bought that lie. You know, God knows if you ate this, basically God's holding out on you, Eve.
Yeah.
If you'd eat this, you'd be like Him. He knows that. Why don't you just... So we get a question mark in our heart about God's character and nature. Yeah. And then we're vulnerable and open to that accuser accusing us. Hey, Eve, you're naked.
We believe the lie.
We believe that lie.
Yeah, you have a lot of great guests on You're the Cure. You start with the Winships, and a lot of them talk about hearing the Lord, identifying that as a... And I love that you filter that through because it affects your health and your peace. But if you can identify that stuff, recognize the voice of the Lord, understand what lie you're believing and reject it.
Yeah, because the connection of this thing, your thinking and your physical health, is really the autonomic nervous system. That's the autopilot. So you have the voluntary nervous system, like my bicep, that's under voluntary control. It's not going to move till I voluntarily, consciously tell it to. My mouth, my jaw is not going to move till I tell it to. But this muscle in my chest is beating and I'm not telling it to. My stomach's digesting my food, I'm not telling it to. My immune system's gobbling up whatever germs I'm breathing in right now, I'm not telling it to. That's autopilot. That thing's just running in the background. And it's running in either first or second gear, rest and digest, fight or flight. And fight or flight's not necessarily bad. Don't call anything God made bad. But, if you're walking down the path and a mountain lion jumps across your trail, you need to...
You're not resting and digesting in this.
No, you need to turn certain systems offline for a minute and ramp up other systems. So your pupils dilate, your heart rate goes up, your breathing rate goes up, your flexor muscles get engaged, you're ready to run or fight, and your digestion turns down, your hormones turn down, your immune system turns down. All that can wait. And, 10 minutes, you kill that mountain lion, these things can come back online and, digest your breakfast. But, so, when you're fight or flight, those systems turn down. Those are the three main systems that we see patients have symptoms: hormones, GI, immune system. So chronic fight or flight, chronic tiger in your room, those systems are offline for too long, it's going to create health havoc. So knowing that, you think, well, I'll just wake up every morning and tell my autopilot nervous system, please be rest and digest today. Don't be fight or flight, that's not healthy. I need my stomach acid, I need my immune system, Well, you can say that, but your autopilot doesn't run off your conscious command. It's programmed by your heart beliefs.
And that gets into some quantum stuff, which I wanted you to talk about.
As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, is actually true. Yeah. Because it's these heart beliefs that will dictate how you see that. So, you get a bill in the mail, you got to pay an unexpected IRS bill for $1,000, and you look in your bank account and you only have 500. Well, your five senses, your eyeballs are seeing that, your carnal, your flesh, it says the mindset on the flesh leads to death. You want to interpret that thing only through your five senses and your life experience and that accuser yapping, or you're going to let the Holy Spirit, okay, Father, you will meet all my needs. You see my need here, and this bill's due. What do you want me to know about this? How are you going to what would you have me do to meet that need? There's no lack in the kingdom. There's plenty. There's a lack of stewardship. There's a lack of, distribution and utilization properly. There's orphan mentality coming in that's gotten hoarding and all that. But that's an example. That's how you got to look at that thing and can take captive that thought. Don't go into freak out mode. And ask Holy Spirit for the truth in this situation.
I had that same opportunity this week with a car bill. Unexpected. So I was like, okay, Lord. And I know the truth. I get to wrestle that out. But you're saying that's actually a big deal.
Huge deal.
What's a good step for somebody? Maybe they don't know about this Jesus. Maybe they don't know, about the God of the Bible and, praying and this type of thing. I wonder, how do you encourage people? What's just a good step to spark your curiosity into this stuff, because it does have such a massive impact on your life and your physical being.
Yeah. I do get that question from patients because not everybody believes like I believe. But you can get into quantum physics real easy and intellectually kind of show people, hey, you take a microscope to your whatever their complaint is, like acid reflux. Yeah. Let's take a microscope to that and drill down in there. And what do you see? Well, I see cells. What are cells made of? Fats, proteins. What are those made of? Well, atoms of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen. What are those made of? Protons, neutrons, electrons. What are those made of? You just keep going down, down, down. And you think back to school, an atom, like carbon, protons and neutrons, so a positive charge and a neutral charge particles. Protons and neutrons make up the nucleus. Electrons orbit that nucleus. The electrons are negatively charged particles in motion. But if you look at the distance between this nucleus and this electron out here orbiting, it's the equivalent of putting golf ball on the 50-yard line of Jones AT&T Stadium or whatever that Dallas Cowboys Stadium is called now. Yeah. And mosquitoes at the top of the light post buzzing around. That's the equivalent distance. 99% empty space. These atoms that make up every physical thing like this table, this glass, this chair, these walls, all this equipment, looks physical, looks solid. If you take that microscope down, it's 99% empty space. Now, not really empty. It's empty of physical materialism, physical matter. But there's forces in play. Just like, how's your cell phone? How do you talk to your family member 3 states away? There's or microwave magnets. You get 2 big magnets and you get them close enough, they almost just suck themselves together. Or more easy to see when you do opposite or negative to negative, that magnet repels. You can't even. There's so much force in there you can't really touch it. So there's these energetic forces, frequencies at play in this invisible realm. And if you trace this down, it's vibrational frequencies consistent with the spoken word.
Oh, wow.
God spoke everything into existence. And all of creation is upheld by His word. And at the very base of all this is energy. And those energetic frequencies are affected by your thinking. And thoughts rooted in anger, bitterness, frustration, all that. They've shown this. I think it was Harvard showed it. Those thoughts change the physical shape of your double helix DNA. Tightens that thing up like a spring crunching down.
Do you have some favorite guests on You're the Cure that have talked about some of this that come to mind at all?
Oh,
I know you have so many episodes.
Steve McVeigh's a great one.
He's pretty recently, yeah.
Bruce Lipton years ago, really good. Biology of Belief. Caroline Leaf, Switch on Your Brain. She's a good one.
The fact that thoughts can be proven to create physical matter in your brain, that's a little bit above my pay grade, but that just is it's so encouraging. It's such an invitation to the Lord on, just how big and amazing. So maybe that's where somebody starts. Just get curious about even that and just think about some of that.
Yeah, and then honestly, my next thing is I just tell people, well, just give it a try. Just start talking to God. Yeah. Even if you don't believe, tell them that. Yeah. I don't believe. I kind of believe, but I sort of don't. Halfway, 99% don't believe, but maybe 1% believe.
But just confess, be true, right?
Yes.
Tell the truth.
And that's where it really all started, actually. Looking back, 18 years ago. Ellie will be 18 next weekend. But so that's our second child. So our first kid, Cade Thomas, he's 21. But we're in residency in Waco on birth control. We decided time for a baby. Got off birth control. Got pregnant the first month. Got back on birth control. We want a big family. We want 2 kids. We want 4 kids in every 2 years.
2 years apart.
So yeah, this perfect plan.
Yeah, 100%.
Get off birth control the second time. Not pregnant. Not pregnant again. Not. Yeah. 12 months in a row of no pregnancy is officially called infertile. So now we're infertile. Let's go to the infertility doctor. We did that. Nope. So another 12 months. And so you get pretty desperate then. Yeah. 24 months of emotional roller coaster. And I went to the Bible and started reading. Now, I'd been raised in a Baptist church all my life, and I knew about the Bible, and I knew about get saved and turn or burn, Jesus' personal Savior. But I was also raised in public school and higher education schooling, where that's called another church called Darwinism. Yeah. Materialism, Darwinism, scientism, intellectualism. I was really steeped in that. That was 5 days a week of church. Yeah. That religion. So tons of doubt and unbelief. How can Darwin and all these scientists be right and the Bible be right and Genesis anyways? But it's still, I went to the Bible. Matthew 6:33 is where I was reading. Seek ye first the kingdom. And then all these things will be given to you. Now you would think I read that whole thing and jumped to the second part. Oh, all these things will be given to me. We'll get pregnant. If I just do this, then I get that. Well, I didn't even think that for some reason. I wasn't some holier than thou saint. I don't know why. I should have thought that. But I got stuck on the first part. And I went and got Jamie and we prayed and I said, Lord, forgive us for not seeking the kingdom first. We're seeking a baby first. And we're out of line and we're done with that. And in fact, we're done with all our dreams. My dream, small town country doctor, my dream of big family, my dream of whatever my dreams were. Like, I'm laying it down. But the big family and pregnancy, we're done. Thank you for one.
Yeah.
We're so grateful for that one child. And let's go. What else you got? But my very next breath was, show me what the kingdom is. Because I don't know what it is. No one's told me that or taught me that. I didn't hear about that in church. And this says to seek it. And I can't seek something I don't even know what it is. And my very next confession was, I know I'm reading and I'm talking to you right now, but I really have a lot of unbelief. And I remembered a story in the Bible where this dad said, I believe, but help me with my unbelief. So then I just said that. And that's how I left that day. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. And now, knowing what I know, that was honest confession.
Oh, so good.
And lo and behold, once you know, this left brain, intellectual, scientific, black and white, show me, prove it to me. These scientists start showing up in my life. PhD level, double PhD, super smart, university level, proving.
Wow.
Intellectually proving the Bible and Genesis and creation and all of it. And Darwin's a total not true. Yeah. I mean, blue Darwinism totally up in my intellect. So now I'm like, oh man, game on. The Bible's actually true. Let's go. Oh. That was the beginning. And that took a few years of, wrestling through all that. But then I got there. Once I got there, it's like, game on, let's go. And then he started opening up to me institutional stuff.
Yeah.
Religion versus ecclesia, body of Christ, the called out ones. Education, institutional versus different ways to educate. And the last one was medicine. He's prepared my heart, tore down a lot of stuff in my mind and the cultural stuff and religious stuff and thoughts that I just had and just everything I thought I knew. So he got me real softened up. And then, boom, there's no such thing as diseases.
Oh, yeah.
It still took me a year.
Such a mystery adventure.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
That is really sweet.
And now my passion is to just try to go places where I'm invited, where there's ears to hear, and tell them the truth. Because people are dying from my people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. And we think high cholesterol causes heart attacks, and it's not the truth. We think these diseases come from our genetics. It's not the truth. Genes get turned on and off. And you're turning them on based off your thoughts, your toxic food, your free radicals, all that. So people need to know the truth. And then they need to know how to walk in it. So that's where the navigators come in and walk with you. And ultimately you end up at peace. Everybody pretty much. But where that goes is identity. If you don't know who you are, if you have a question about God's character, nature, and a question on you, your mitochondria is reading, it's resonating off of your heart beliefs. And if your heart beliefs has these filters of these lies about God and self, that mitochondria is going to vibrate at an abnormal frequency. When God spoke all this into existence, how I see it, that vibrational frequency, everything in creation has a unique fingerprint of frequency. So everything was vibrating at its own unique fingerprint of vibrational frequency, and it was perfect. Everything was in resonance. And Adam and Eve were stewarding that thing, I think maybe for 33 years. It doesn't say that, but, I kind of thought maybe. But then, boom, here comes that yapping voice. The accuser believed that lie. Boom, a frequency changed in Eve. Something shifted. And then we're starting to make decisions now. We're stewards of this creation. We're making decisions that affect creation, rooted in a filter through a lie. And now, boom, that frequency's off and that frequency's off. And pretty soon all of creation But mainly our hearts are vibrating at a frequency, and our cells are vibrating at these frequencies that are off. And we need to get back in tune, back in resonance. And the way you do that, the tuning fork that'll bring you back, is Holy Spirit truth. God told David, don't build that temple. David's the one that wanted to do that. And God said, no, don't do that. I don't want that. I want a tabernacle, mobile tent that moves with my people. My presence mobile, move with you. No house built by hands can contain me. Now, one of your descendants is going to build a house, but it'll be a spiritual house of living stones, and I'm going to write my law, my truth on their heart. And that's what the peace pillar is. Holy Spirit writes His truth on your heart about your unique circumstances, and boom, vibrational frequencies start to flip, your cells start to resonate, cancer goes away.
I don't know of a better place to stop. And I would encourage people to, if this is the first time you've heard any of this, there's a lot here.
Yeah.
Go to Veritas Wellness.
Member.com.
VeritasWellnessMember.com. And there's great coaches, great navigators there. You have a ton of resources, a ton of video. Go check out You're the Cure. And I'm just grateful, Dr. Ben, for what you're doing, for people. You're loving them really, really well. And for the kingdom. It's really sweet. So I hope you're encouraged.
Thank you.
Really thank you for making time for what you do. I know it's hard.
No, it's all good. I love it. I love when you figure out who God says you are, and then you just go be that. It's great. And all the glory to God. Thanks be to God. I could have been stuck in Garza County my whole life.
Yeah. I went to Texas Tech, so I know about post too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it was a spirit of rejection, man-pleasing, and performance that were lording over me. Voluntarily, I submitted to those liars. It kept me there. And the truth set me free from that. So, glory to God for that. Thanks be to God. I'm just trying to be who He says I am. And, we need everybody. The body of Christ together. That's the spiritual house. Jesus is building it right now. He's the head of it, and He's putting it together, and it's happening. The kingdom's coming more and more and more. So people need to just walk in that truth of who they are.
Well, thanks for doing who you're made to be.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Ben.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah.